Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you a few ways that you can add some color and styling to your Python text output in your terminal. There will be three methods shown, with the first using a method that is built into Python and the other two using a library from PyPy called colored. There are other libraries such as Colorama available, but I've used colored in the past, so I'm going to show you that one. If you enjoy this video, please click the like button and consider subscribing for future Python videos like this one. With that said, let's get started. Now, before we begin, I'm going to make a virtual environment for this project. I'm going to activate it, and that should do it. So we're going to need that for methods 2 and 3, which use the colored library, but we don't need it for the first method. So we'll move on to that next. Okay, now that's out of the way, let's just make sure the Python interpreter is set correctly. Yep, that's fine. Just check that before you start, just to play safe. So moving on, method 1 that we're going to use is what's built into Python for adding a bit of color, a bit of style to text in the terminal. First off, I'm just going to run this particular bit of code, which is show us some normal text. And there you go. It's just regular black text on a white background. So next up, a little bit of color to a bit of text. So in this case, what we're going to do is put some bold green text on a black background. And to achieve that, we use this little bit of code at the beginning of the text. So 033 indicates it's a escape character. And then we have 1, which indicates bold. 32, make the text green. 40M, make the background black. Now, the only thing you need to be concerned about is that the color will persist until it's changed. If you want it to go back to normal, you need to change that to match the color of the settings on your terminal theme. But if you're using something like power level 9K, 10K, or whatever number it is these days, then it might actually just revert back because that's what mine does automatically. If you're using something like PowerShell, for example, it doesn't automatically revert back, so you need to change that. So I'll just run this, and there we go. Bold text, that's green on a black background. Moving on to the next example, we're just going to use an underlined line of text with cyan as the text color, and we're going to put that on a black background. So again, we've got our escape character backslash 033, 4, which is underlined, 36, which is cyan for the color of the foreground, aka the text, and 40M, again, a black background. And there we go. And I've got one more example using this method, and that's just basically going to be bold underlined red text on a white background. Let's save that. Doesn't come out completely red because my terminal's a little bit weird, but you can see we've got bold underlined red text on a white background. However, though, it isn't underlined, and that's because you can't do it with this method. I've tried a few ways of doing it and you just can't seem to get it to click. So the only way I've been able to do it is with methods 2 and 3, which I'll get into next. Once I've just gone over a way that I can show you how to reset the terminal color back. And that's pretty simply just do a print line with whatever the color is for your terminal. So in this case, it was a black background, white text, switch it to normal, which was what I used in PowerShell. And I'm using Mac OS here, so it doesn't impact it because of what I've got set. So on PowerShell, it did actually impact it. So this would revert it back to white text on a black background. So I'll just run that one more time. And that's basically it. So there's no change to my shell here. Now that we've got method 1 out of the way, let's move on to method 2, where we start using the colored library to do our coloring and our styling. Moving on to method 2, before we get started, we need to install the colored library from PyPy. So I'm going to use pip for that. With that taken care of, let's import what we need. So in this case, I just need back, fore, and style. So these just apply to the background, foreground, and style. I'll go over style as we go. So we're basically going to replicate what we did in method 1, but we're going to use the colored library instead. So to begin with, I'm going to make some predefined styles and colors. Text color 1, I'm going to take a background of black. So just back.black, foreground of green. So fore.green, and then a style which has bold applied to it. So in this case, style.bold. So we've got a second style. This time, again, we'll go with a black background. This time the foreground instead will be cyan and the style will be underlined. And one last style, which will have a background of white, but we're going to use RGB instead of just using black, so we can be a little bit more specific about what shades we want. A foreground of red, again using RGB, and then this time we're going to do a style of dot bold and then another style of dot underline, so we can apply multiple styles here. Now, as a side note, for these RGB values, you can use percentages instead. So if you wanted to put like 50%, 25%, 100%, you can do that. For our first example, we're just going to use text color 1 and say bold green text on a black background. So save that and run it. There we go, nice and simple. Now I'm going to run it again because this does actually do something. What you'll notice is the actual formatting of the text stays the same. So it's persistent until you change it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset this back to whatever the terminal theme is by default. To do that, we just do style.reset on a line of text. So I'm just going to print hello again. That should be green text, bold and black. And then when we apply the reset and then do the next print, it's back to whatever the default is. So I'll just run that. There we go. We've got our original bold green text on a black background. Then the first hello, which was this one. Then the second hello, which was this one. Style reset afterwards, and then text is back to normal, which is right there. So moving on to the next example, we're going to use text color 2, which was a black background, cyan text, underlined text, and we're just going to print normal underlined cyan text on a black background. There we go. And now for the last example for method 2, we're just going to do bold, underlined red text on a white background using text color 3. And then at the end of it, we're just going to do a style reset. Save that and run it again. And we can see that it's done it. Can't really make out the actual white background all that well. So I'll just pop into dark mode. And that makes it stand out a little bit better. That's method 2, and that's just using the colored library. Now I'm going to move on to method 3, where we're going to use the colored library again, but we're going to use a different method that's available in the colored library to do the styling that we need. Moving on to our final method, we're going to use the colored library again, except this time we're going to use cprint and style instead of using for, back, and style. So instead of using the normal print function, we use cprint, which allows us to pass a number of arguments over to it. We can tell it what text we want. We can also tell it what foreground and background color we want, as well as what formatting we want. So instead of having to go like style.bold, we're just doing formatting equals bold. For RGB, we're just going to do green text, background, black again. Pretty much exactly the same as what we did before in method 2, except we're going to use a different way of doing it to effectively achieve the same result. And there we go. Also, it looks a little bit more greener than the last one. Now, unlike with method 2, the style actually automatically resets when cprint's finished. If I run this now, hello should be black text on a white background. And there we go. So there's no more having to worry about resetting the style each time. On to our next example, which is normal underlined cyan text on a black background. Pretty much again, it's the same as what we did before. The only thing we're doing again is we're using cprint instead. There we go. And for our last example using cprint, we're going to do bold underlined red text on a white background. Use a foreground of red, of course, background of white, and then the formatting will be underlined. Now, I've had to put style.bold at the beginning of this text because with the formatting parameter, you can only actually pass one argument to it, and that argument has to be a string. So I can't pass like underline and then bold, and I can't use a list, a tuple, or a set in any way, shape, or form. You have to only pass one argument to it. So that's why I put style.bold at the beginning, just to give us the bold effect, and then underline's taken care of here. So I'll just run that again. You can see bold underline red text on a white background. Again, switch over to dark mode to see the white background. And there we go. And that concludes how you can add color and style to your terminal output using a few methods, one built into Python, and then at least one library that's available on PyPy for adding color and styling to your text. Like I said at the beginning, there are other ones. Colorama's another popular one. There's probably many more available, but all I could say is choose one that you like and just run with it. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.